Welcome to the Switchblade Sisters Social Club, a true crime podcast where two sisters exploit their worst fears for your entertainment. You're welcome. I'm Dee.
And I'm Rhonda, and together we are the Sake Sisters. For more information, check out our website at www.switchbladesistersocialclub.com or find us on Instagram and Facebook at Switchblade Sisters Social Club.
Thanks for listening.
Hi, my name's Dee and this is Rhonda.
Hi!
And we are Switchblade Sisters Social Club, the true crime podcast where two sisters exploit their worst fears for your entertainment. You're welcome. I want to say hi to Pat because Pat texted me today. He's a friend and he said, when's the next episode out? I've caught up and I'm having to re-listen to previous ones.
Oh, I know. Do you know what? That was such a nice it's such a nice comment, wasn't it? Such a nice compliment. But people don't just want to listen once, they want to listen to us twice.
I know. And he was also happy that Colin Sutton was a Spurs fan. So I've got two bits of fun news for me.
Okay.
I got a haircut.
Yes, very
my
nice.
hairs did. And me and my two idiot friends, Helen and Emma, love them, for our birthdays, we got our drinks order tattooed on us.
Oh God, what is it?
2 rums and cokes and a rosé prosecco. You can't really see because it's got that second skin on and it's covered in ink. But I'll send you a picture. I'll send you one now so you can see. We'll share it on our socials. But yeah, we're stupid. Emma, although shout out to Simon, our tattooist, maybe not as stupid as he is, because he was like, Emma, you can't get yours on your leg because how will you order it at the bar? And it's like, Simon, at the bar we'll use our words. We're not just going to point to the tattoo.
I'm surprised you didn't get your bottle of Kraken tattooed.
I know. Well, that's what the drink of choice is, Kraken and Coke. I'm sending it to you now. Have a little look. And tell me what you think.
I mean, it is what it is.
It's what it's, yeah. So that's my news. Other news, once this episode comes out, I would have just got back from Manchester Punk Festival. I'm so excited. Our mother, I told her, can you look after Lola, the dog? Because I'm going away for a few days for Manchester Punk Festival. And she said, oh, where's that? I was like, Manchester.
It's north of the M25.
Yeah. Also, she only pays attention to 1 in 10 words, if that, I'm guessing. Yeah, and no judgment there. I'm the same. So yeah, I'm really excited because today I get to sit back, drink my Kraken and Coke while you just fucking tell me the story.
Okay, so I've got another unusual one, which is not like me. This one is old-timey, which I've never done before.
Ooh,
so
because you got a newfound appreciation for them, right?
Less so. I'm not selling it well, but less so than modern day ones. But I have a good appreciation for this story because I don't know if appreciation is the right word. It's gruesome. So it intrigues me. It piqued my interest.
Is it grosser than Sawney Bean?
Same.
All right, okay.
Yeah.
Well, just tell me the fucking story.
Okay, so this one is about Countess Elizabeth Bathory de Exed. I hope I pronounced her name right. So she's the Guinness World Record holder for the most prolific female murderer and possible inspiration for Bram Stoker's Dracula. So Elizabeth Bathory, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. It's Hungarian. She was born in 1560 in Bathory, Hungary, and she died in 1614 in Castle Castige. I hope I'm pronouncing that right, in Hungary, and I'll tell you why she died in a castle later. She was a Hungarian countess who allegedly tortured and murdered hundreds of young women in the 16th and 17th centuries. So Bathory was born into a prominent Protestant nobility in Hungary. Her family controlled Transylvania, and her uncle, Stephen Bathory, was king of Poland. She was raised at the castle, at the family's castle in Exed, Hungary. And in 1575, she married Count Ferencz, hold on, let me say that again. Count Ferenc Nadasdy.
So her uncle was the king of Poland.
Yes,
So
yes,
she's fucking high end.
yes. And so she married this count who was a member of another powerful Hungarian family and subsequently moved to Castle Castich, which was a wedding gift from her husband's family. And between 1585 and 1595, she had 4 kids. So she was born into nobility, and her family ruled Transylvania, which was a place that was always associated with vampire mythology.
And an excuse to post my Transylvania pictures again.
Yes. Oh, they were good.
Oh, can I just say, so beautiful.
Yeah. The whole country looks great.
Romania was amazing. It surprised me. I knew it was going to be a good little holiday. It was even better than expected.
Yeah, the pictures were stunning. So legend says that Bathory would bathe in the virgin blood of her victims in an effort to stay young and beautiful. And as a child, she suffered from seizures and fits. And a treatment at this time for this was to drink blood of a nun sufferer and rub it onto your face. And it's not known if she actually received this alleged treatment, but it is likely.
So what, do we think she had epilepsy?
Yeah, so I actually looked into this further because I thought, well, that must be epilepsy. I mean, maybe it could be other things, but I looked into it, and apparently seizures and fits of rage ran in her family, and apparently
inbreeding.
Well, I didn't come across that, but also likely.
It's just all of the royal families, huh?
Yeah, noble families, yeah. And apparently rage episodes can be a symptom of epilepsy, so it's likely that could have been the case. So her privileged upbringing was tainted by violence and health problems, according to someone called Alexandra Bartosi. Someone called, oh God, that name, I'm not gonna be able to say it. Alexandra Bartosiewicz of Poland University of Lodz, who in 2018 published a research paper on the Countess. And she says, already at the age of 4 or 5, she suffered from epileptic seizures, violent mood swings, as well as painful migraines. And she grew up around war and violence, and her father was said to have taken her to watch executions to, quote unquote, harden her. So you can imagine that's quite a rough childhood, you know? The medical condition plus seeing that. I mean, that's going to affect an adult, let alone a child. I don't even know what that does to you. So the name Bathory apparently means brave, and she was allegedly also a descendant of Vlad the Impaler. Also, and no judgment, she was very sexually active. She was pregnant at 13, which was considered to be shocking at the time, by a man of lesser standing. And the baby was given to another family to raise in secret. So again, that must have...
I mean, 13 is... Yeah.
And then
to be sexually active, and then also to get pregnant and have a baby, and then have to give it up.
Yeah. So her husband is said to have had the lover, I don't like that word, castrated and torn to pieces by dogs. So the man who had impregnated her. And the child... I mean,
we would probably call that man a pedophile in this day and age.
And we would also call it rape.
Yes.
Yeah. So the child was hidden from view as well. In 1575, she married, sorry. This should have been above, sorry. So it was in 1575 that she married the Count, and she was 15, he was 19. And it was a family arrangement with political benefits, and had been decided when she was about 10 years old that this would happen. She would marry him. And
not loving that.
No.
But that's the way it was.
Being a family of such high standing with incredible wealth, it was considered essential that the bloodline remained pure and their assets were protected. Again,
so inbreeding.
Also, it still happens in this day and age. So Elizabeth had no qualms about engaging in extramarital affairs, and her husband taught her about the art of torture. And together they would stick pins under fingernails and burn victims. And as newlyweds, they moved to Sarvar, which was in Western Hungary, where her husband schooled his wife in torture. And the castle became the site of a number of atrocities, according to the researcher with the name that I find difficult to say. And for Elizabeth's pleasure, her husband had a girl restrained, lathered in honey, and ravaged by insects. He gifted his wife gloves spiked with claws, with which to thrash her servants for their mistakes. And further corruption came from Elizabeth's Aunt Clara, who introduced her to orgies and a shadowy circle of people considered sorcerers, witches, and alchemists. All of this sounds like a Brothers Grimm story, doesn't it?
Making me a bit nauseous, yeah.
Yeah. One
Oof.
of her uncles was an instructor in Satanism, and her aunt, who was a notorious lesbian, it makes me laugh, a notorious lesbian.
Notorious lesbian. New merch, notorious lesbian.
Yeah, it's a great title, and practiced sadomasochism and taught her about this. So they had a massive empire, so much so that the king actually owed them money. And her husband, Elizabeth's husband, the count, was frequently away fighting in wars. And this left her solely in charge of their estate. So they owned 17 villages around her castle.
As you do.
And despite her torturous ways, she was known for being a good mother to their 4 kids. And she spoke multiple languages, and she was very bright and well educated. And she helped a lot of women with their affairs with like legal issues, if they'd lost their husbands at war and stuff like that. And later she was nicknamed the Countess of Blood because she was said to bathe in the blood of virgins. So her carriage was drawn by 2 black horses who would be spotted at night around local villages, and people, as soon as they saw that, would start to hide their daughters. And reportedly, one time when she'd hit a maid and broken her nose, she claimed that where the blood hit her skin was soft and youthful. And she was considered very beautiful, and so obsessed with retaining her youth and beauty. And it's said that she ran out of peasant girls to torture and kill, so she turned her sights to the noble women. And I found a PhD thesis on Elizabeth, and it said killing serfs and servants who indeed had fewer rights was gauche, but not really illegal for a noble. I mean, it's awful, isn't it? That's
Do you know what I'm getting? Delphine Lalaurie vibes.
Yes,
Remember
yes,
in New Orleans,
yes,
how she
exactly.
got done for, but
An
she
American
took it to the
Horror
next
Story.
level where they were like, we can't ignore how badly you're treating your slaves.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that's exactly the episode that it made me think of. But God, the phrase, it was considered gauche, but not really illegal for a noble. Crazy. And the PhD said killing your fellow nobles, even ones of lower rank, was a far more serious problem and not one that could be ignored. So killing servants and quote unquote peasant girls, she got away with. Yeah, but it was when it was the noble women that it became more of an issue. So more than 300 witnesses gave testimonies against her. And after her husband's death, rumors of Elizabeth's cruelty began to surface, and there had been earlier accounts of peasant women being murdered. But it was not until 1609 that rumors that she had killed noble women attracted attention. And in 1610, King Matthias assigned the Count Palatine of Hungary, and coincidentally Elizabeth's cousin, to investigate the claims.
Isn't the Palatine something from like Star Wars?
But
yeah, her cousin.
To investigate her claims. So the claims. So yeah, I mean, I would say that that's biased, but anyway, between 1610 and 1611, there were dispositions taken from people living in the area surrounding her estate, including the testimony of more than 300 witnesses and survivors. And the story of her murders were further verified by physical evidence of mutilated, dying, or dead victims at the time of her arrest that were held captive in her castle.
Oh.
So she kind of set up a school where noble families would send daughters to learn the ways of grace and etiquette. And people, and this is how she lured them in. People would take more notice as these women, the noble women, disappeared. And it's questionable why anyone would allow their child to go if there was so much being said about what went on in that castle and all the hordes of disappearing girls. But may be impossible to refuse her, especially in a time of war when they relied on the strength and protection of her family. So She
If
was at
she
a
owned their villages, they might not have had any choice really
yes,
if their daughter was selected to go to
yeah,
this school.
yeah. Oh, it makes me feel sick. So she was at a theater once and she saw a soprano singing and asked her to come to the castle to perform. And the woman was so nervous that she didn't sing well, and Elizabeth had her killed because of that. So she was luring people into the castle as victims. And in 1604, her husband, that was the year her husband died of an unknown illness. And after this was when, the rumors sort of ramped up about Elizabeth. And
Do we think she killed him?
unknown illness.
Okay. I mean, to be fair, there was a lot of unknown illnesses back then, but
a local vicar wrote pleading her to stop the torture, and he was actually considered very brave for trying to take her on. And a task force was rallied after all the noble women started to go missing and found dead. So they entered the castle, the task force, to find dogs running around with bits of people in their mouths where they had been digging up the bodies. There was a rotten stench in the castle, and it was said to have smelled like an abattoir. And the task force that went to investigate even walked in on Elizabeth during one of her torture sessions. And one of her torture methods was women in cages poked to death with spears, while someone called Fisco the dwarf screamed obscenities at them. It's like literally a scene from a horror movie, isn't it?
yes.
And another torture method was a swinging cage with knives inside, as well as knives on the ceiling, so the cage would swing into the blades as the women tried to avoid the blades inside and out. Yeah.
Fucking hell. She got creative.
Yeah. And another one, sorry. Oh, and another one of her, repertoire of torture methods was to take women outside and throw water over them over and over again until it froze. And when she was sick in bed and not up to visiting her torture chamber, she asked for a servant girl to be brought to her room, where she would bite her neck and start biting chunks out of her breasts. Yeah, it's literally like
What is wrong with this woman?
The worst kind of torture. And as you said, creative. So witness statements said that servants would scoop blood from the bucket load after torture sessions when they were cleaning up the crime scene. And apparently there was a torture crew consisting of a witch, the dwarf Fisco, and one of the servants was involved. And authorities tortured them for evidence, considered at the time to be the most reliable way to try to acquire, to conduct an interview. And the servants were put on trial in 1611, and all three were executed. And when I say these servants, it was the witch, the dwarf, and the servant involved in the torture.
Who probably didn't have any choice.
Yeah. So Gregorian academics say that the king wanted her convicted because he owed so much money to her family, and if she is prosecuted, the wealth becomes property of the royal estate. Some claim she was misunderstood and that she was a doctor and likely performing abortions.
What, with the cage and the knives?
Well, that she may have been treating women also at the time for tuberculosis, cholera, etc., because those were rife illnesses at the time. So there were theories that the torture was maybe not as it seemed, and that she was running some sort of undercover.
I mean, I can't imagine a scenario where this story got like twisted over centuries.
Because at the end of the day, it happened in the 15 and 1600s. So, records, how many records are actually kept? So there were these other, for balance, there were these other theories that she wasn't torturing people, but actually was running some sort of undercover black market clinic to help women. So she never gave evidence at trial. So they never actually heard her side of the story. She wasn't executed because nobles rallied to prevent it, largely because the fortune would become the property of the king. So instead, she was imprisoned in her own castle, which,
sounds like heaven.
Yeah, it doesn't sound terrible. So this was at the age of 50, when she was 50. And they got
like 100 in that time.
Yeah, I'm surprised she lived to that age, actually, to be honest, living in a castle that must have been full of bacteria from all the bodies. But they got 4 rooms bricked up in her castle with slits in the walls for air and food to pass through. And she spent 4 years there before her death. And the victim count, so she was incarcerated for the last 4 years of her life, so she died at 54. And her victim count is said to be as high as 650 women and girls. Now, however, this long-standing narrative is being questioned by researchers who believe that Elizabeth's crimes were likely exaggerated as part of a conspiracy against her. Nevertheless, tourists are very intrigued by the gory legend, and they even, her castle is actually a tourist attraction, and it's beautiful. I'm going to show you a picture of it. So I'm going to show you the ruins of the castle, which is now in modern-day Slovakia, where she's said to have carried out her gruesome deeds. And there was a linguist whose surname is Tony Thorne, a linguist at King's College London, and the author of the book Countess Dracula, The Life and Times of Elizabeth Bathory, said, "Humans have a need for symbols, icons, and personifications of the dramatic forces that shape our lives, and we, guiltily or not, thrill at the excesses of those who go too far," said Thorne. "There are plenty of male representations of spectacular evil, but very few well-known evil females. Bathory fills a gap in the iconography of horror." And I thought that was a very interesting statement.
It is, because we are always extra shocked when it's a female.
Yeah, and especially the nature of the crimes, and especially that the crimes are against other women. Because often, well, it's not often because there's not as many female serial killers out there. But when there have been, like Eileen Wuornos, it's been against men. It's been a sort of revenge act, Whereas in this case is interesting because...
Or the other big one for females is financial gain. But it doesn't sound like that was why she was doing it at all.
No. And it's interesting because whether this story is true or not, and there have been quite a number of books written on it, PhDs written on it, it's a fucking interesting story. It's interesting.
So she's the one that was rumored to have bathed in the virgin's blood to keep her young and stuff. Yeah.
And it's interesting because if it's not true, who came up with such horrific examples of torture if it wasn't true?
Well, I remember when we went to Ghent, where our uncle lives, and we went to the castle there, which is a really cool castle, and they had in there a little bit of a torture museum, and just being horrified by all the different ways they did with torture get super creative. I remember almost like a vault, a triangular vault, and then they made you straddle it and they put weights on your legs so your body was literally ripped in two. Someone was just sitting at home, like strongman games, thinking of random weird shit. You know what I mean?
Even the knife in the cage one. How can you even fucking think about that? How does that get construed in your mind? So yeah, I find it interesting because if it isn't true, what was the purpose of creating this story? I mean, I believe that it is true, maybe exaggerated, but I think there's enough literature written on it to, and evidence that it's, there is some basis of truth there.
Oh, I'm sure it is exaggerated over time. But, like with Sawney Bean, right? But there's no smoke without fire.
Yeah. So, but also I wonder, the torture and people embellishing on that. Oh, why would, when you embellish on a story, you do it to make it funnier, more interesting, but to make it more gruesome, if that isn't true, who the fuck thought of those, So yeah, I'm going to show you the castle. I'm going to show you the castle because it is the most picturesque, cute castle on top of a hill with some mountains in the background, and it looks absolutely amazing. Let me show you. This is the castle where
So it's in Slovakia now.
Yeah, modern day Slovakia.
Oh, it is so cute.
Isn't that cute? It does not look sinister at all. I mean, it looks old. It looks like ruins. You couldn't go in there anymore nowadays. But can you imagine if that cute looking place that would have been the site?
Knowing what's happened there.
Yeah, so that story, it is gruesome. It does make you feel sick. The dogs with the flesh in their mouth and
Why would you want to live there? She was totally okay with it just smelling like fucking decomposition and
I would love to know what aspects of the story are accurate.
Imagine if she was just a doctor and you know
I
how
know,
like
and I believe that too. I can imagine that can also, because in history there were women who,
who were
had
done for being witches or whatever,
vigilante doctors, because we know Pat likes the word vigilante.
vigilante, yeah.
So yeah, that story intrigued me, and I thought I'd do a little side quest into old-timey cases.
Wow. That one is super gross.
Yeah.
Lots of murder. We've gone from last week, no murder, to
To over
650
650.
plus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think I'm going to go back to non-murder for next week. But
Take a
yeah,
week
because
off.
this one and what was that guy called? Carl Tanzler. Those and Sonny Bean, those are the ones that churn my stomach more than any. I think there is something about old-timey ones that are grosser. I don't know why.
I
And
think,
the one of the soap maker.
well, I think for the case to live on,
Hmm.
it's normally because they're super fucking gross.
Yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
know what I
So
mean?
actually the
Otherwise, they
old-timey,
get forgotten over time.
I know, because sometimes I think, oh, old-timey, how bad could it be? They're fucking worse.
Some of them really fucking are.
Yeah.
Whoa.
So palate cleanser time.
People's polls.
Yes. So, okay. So me and Dee have been Googling questions, researching questions of the People's Pulse to make sure that we are presenting you with some good options, some good thought-provoking questions. So the question of the day is, this is the question of the day. If someone does you dirty, do you A, cut them out and never speak to them again, or exact revenge? And by does you dirty, I mean does you wrong. That can be anything. Anything that does you wrong. Okay, so we have had some answers. I'm gonna save mine for the end. You have thinking time. Okay.
I know the answer to mine.
So, okay, so we've got our favorite cherry of crime period, our favorite cherry of Crimepedia.
Cherry. We did an
Cherry.
episode with her.
So much fun.
Another old-timey one. Another one.
Yeah, the Angel Makers.
Based.
Fucking hell, the Angel Makers. That was another horrendous old-timey one. Okay, so Cherry says A, which is cut them out. But then also plot B, exact revenge. Even if you don't do it, it's fun to plot.
Yes, that's exactly mine. Think of lots of ways to exact revenge and then even feel guilty about that, but then just cut them out.
Do you know what? I often fantasize about what I want to say to somebody. Do you ever, like, when somebody's such a fucking asshole and you just imagine all the things you would love to say to them, you know? I mean,
I normally write them in a note on my phone and then delete it.
Oh, you see, like, I will take any opportunity to tell somebody off for bad behavior, but you know, when you want to, telling off is acceptable if what they've done.
That's not revenge though.
No, but do you ever have, I really have fantasies sometimes about, like, literally repeatedly punching somebody in the face.
Yeah.
That's my therapy for getting.
Hi, Adam.
Yeah, the things that you can't actually, telling somebody off, fine, can't punch them in the face. So I do have, like, fantasies that, you know, just for anger management purposes, I have to visualize it.
Yeah, apparently that's totally normal. Just exacting the actual violence is less so.
Yeah, is that normal to visualize it? Is it? Oh, okay, because I feel a bit psycho when I do that.
Yeah,
okay,
no,
so
it's fine.
The Beauty Unlocked podcast hour, our friend Carissa says, A, I can't be bothered with people's fuckery and shenanigans.
Tell me about it. The older I get as well. I think my answer might have been different when I was younger and I had more energy, but now it's just like, nope, bye, Felicia.
And then our friend Debbie at True Crime University, amazing podcast, both of them, check them out. She says, A, cut them out. Then
we already knew our listeners were nice people, so
yeah. Carly says, if anyone did me dirty, I would cut them out of my life, but not before bad-mouthing them to everyone I know and to their family and friends. Obs that. Then, Susie, a last-minute submission. She says, I completely cut people out of my life. If I was to exact revenge, it would be like admitting they hurt me and I wouldn't give them the satisfaction. For me, it's best to walk away with my dignity intact. They will need me before I ever need them. Oh, and she says, I hope you're both well. You're amazing.
Susie has integrity.
She does. She does. Good, solid moral fiber. And Oh, do you know what? One of the cutest answers was Isla of Criminally Good Books York. And she said, I'd probably apologize to them.
She probably would.
It made me laugh and it made me sad because she probably would.
Oh, now wait. If they did you dirty.
We can't even say it out loud, Dee, what we would do.
No, I can't leave evidence of what would be done.
No, that's the thing. If there's somebody, I have to be, I'm so lucky because I don't have dickheads in my life because A, I'm very discerning. I have a small circle and I'm very discerning. And B, I work alone. So, there's not many people that could wrong me in life. And if they did, very few times in my life I've been wronged. And then I literally just cut them out and I just don't think about them. And it's funny because people have always said, how are you just so over it? It's like, because I'm over it. Why would you give them the energy, the time?
I have to say,
but if they fucking hurt you, they're dead to me and I will fucking exact revenge and I cannot say more.
But I would have to say in the grand scheme of things, we've not had anyone do anything horrendous to us.
No.
Do you know what I mean?
I think we've done, I don't think, yeah. I mean, if anyone does something bad to you, it's like kicking a puppy. Yeah. But yeah, no, it's true, isn't it? As you get older, you give a fuck so much less. You have learned that it is not worth your time and effort. But I do agree with Carly. You got to fucking badmouth them a little bit first. Get out your system.
Well, people need to know what happened.
Yeah, you got to bitch about it. You got to call everyone.
If they ask.
Yeah. You do have
then
to,
you need to make a podcast and mention it repeatedly.
Yeah.
That's not revenge. It's just saying a thing, isn't it?
You know what? There is a difference between bitching and stating facts, right? If it's a fact, it's a fact,
Science.
But yeah, it is funny. It is funny how with age you handle things differently because it probably would have been tempted to fucking set people on fire back in the day.
Yeah.
The bad shit. Now I'm like,
So what else? What else have we got?
Makes you not angry.
Huh?
Sertraline makes you not angry.
Have you had that? Because you're new to sertraline.
Yeah.
Have you had those moments yet? Like when I started on citalopram and it started kicking in. There's been loads of times where I'm like, non-citalopram D would probably be really stressed or angry about this.
Totally. Well, somebody's trying to sue me for fucking breaking their Tesla, apparently. So yeah, that would have stressed me out before. And I'm like, minor inconvenience.
Thank you, Big Pharma.
I did not break the Tesla. I'm going to say
She
this.
didn't.
I didn't. I walked past the fucking wing mirror. It fell off. That wasn't me. It wasn't me.
Breathe on it.
Anyway, yeah. So I highly recommend.
So, any other responses?
No, that was it. So that implies that it was a duffer question.
But I'm loving our next question.
Yeah, the next one is good. Don't say it. Don't say it.
No, I'm not gonna, but it's a good
one. The next one is good. Yeah, polarizing? Is it No, it's not polarizing. It's going to elicit great responses, but I like the polarizing. It's going to
elicit great revealing responses. Yeah. We're going to learn a lot.
Yes, I love those ones where you learn a lot about our listeners. I love those. I like when we asked about like most embarrassing things and stuff like that. It just tells you a lot about the person, like what embarrasses them and what doesn't. And I learned a great life lesson. I mean, I've learned many great life lessons from Susie. And Susie has made us laugh. Susie has made us cry because she's touched our hearts. And her sister imparted some great wisdom too with if you can choose to puke in the sink.
Puke on the floor.
Sink. Wait, no. Puke in the sink or piss on the floor. You piss on the floor.
Yeah.
That needs to be some fucking merch.
That needs to be merch too. All right. What was it earlier?
That's some Oscar Wilde shit right there.
Notorious lesbian and Susie's sister's quote. I'm even going to do it quote like a speech bubble or something, and then like a quote Susie's sister.
I tell you what, if you think that's not going to come in handy, that quote at some point in your life, it will. If it hasn't already.
All right. Okay.
It will.
Post-production D. 2 more things to add. Post-production D is working on Merchant Navy merch. So.
Navy. Imagine if they gave every job a fancier title.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Oh my God, I would love to actually like think of fancy.
My first job had a not necessarily a fancy title, but a title that made it sound like I was a sex worker.
Oh, why? What
It
was
was when
it?
I worked for Hounslow Council, and when I met my dear friend James White. Hi, James White. You listen to, and we
Oh,
love you
he's
for
a
it.
good
He's a
guy.
good man.
Can
But
I just give a shout out to James White, because every morning and every day, every morning and afternoon at school pickup and drop off, we listen to Intergalactic in the car because that's what Shay picks. And I don't know why. I need to ask him. I've been meaning to ask him. Every time I hear that song, I think of him. There must be a reason.
there must be a reason.
Anyway, so shout out James Black.
James
White, but I call him Mr. Black.
James White. What was I saying about him?
Can't remember. What were you saying? Fuck. Shit, I can't remember what you were saying.
Merchant Navy merch. Let's work backwards.
Oh, you met him at Hounslow Council, yeah.
Yeah, Hounslow Council. So this job title wasn't, it didn't make me sound fancy. It made me sound like a sex worker because I sorted post, but my title was Mail Services Assistant.
Ah! Oh my God, I thought it was going to be mail order.
No. Mail is in post, but obviously.
Yeah.
So, all right, well, that's it. That's it for today.
That is it. That story was over quick. I don't know how. You didn't interrupt me that much. Maybe that's
No,
why.
I know, I was fascinated. And also I have tattoo flu.
Oh.
Yeah. And also I officially have long COVID as of yesterday.
What do you mean officially have long COVID? When was the last time you had
Because
COVID?
like for the first 3 months you're just recovering from COVID. It's not really, but like because I'm still having to have like literally 2 to 3 naps a day every single day. And it's been 3 months, so now it's long COVID. So I'm going to go to the doctor, see what's up, because I cannot spend the rest of my life just napping all the time.
It doesn't sound bad. The napping doesn't sound bad. The feeling.
Yeah, but you want to nap by choice, not by necessity.
I know. Oh, fuck.
And it's like seriously impacting my work, my life. Do you know what I mean? So it's got to go.
There's no amount of caffeine.
No. Today in the tattoo studio, I took a nap while Emma and Helen were getting tattooed. I'd already had 4 coffees, 2 colas, caffeine pills. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah. Fuck you, COVID. Fuck you.
But your hair looks good.
Thanks. It really does. Shout out to Maisie. Lots of shout outs today. All right. Well, I love you and I love our sexy listeners.
And all of you. And we love you. Where are you in our DMs?
Yeah, slide into them. I liked how our People's Pulse got some new people who don't always respond to our People's Pulse. So we like that. New people. Come play with us.
And well, next week they're going to want to get involved.
They're going to want to. Next week is a good one.
It's a fun one.
Love you. Bye.
Toodles. Hey there. Thanks for being a loyal listener.
Do you need a new website or want to boost your social media performance? Or do you hate podcast editing? You've tried optimizing your website and social media channels, but you're still not getting the listeners, downloads, and engagement you want?
We, the Safier sisters, love helping people with tasks that they hate. We know a thing or two about podcasts, websites, and social media, and we love working with other podcasters and business owners.
So why not head over to switchbladesisterssocialclub.com and go to our Work With Us section. We believe in collaboration over competition. A rising tide raises all ships.
Bye!